listening to Our Two Satoshis podcast with hosts Justin and Billy from CryptoBiz.com.
Billy, what are you drinking on today?
Today I am drinking a Devil's Backbone O-Fest, which is a Oktoberfest lager. That's a Virginia brewery. They were actually bought out by AB, which is Anheuser-Busch.
Isn't Anheuser-Busch like owned by some like European company now?
Yeah, it's super American. Yeah, I can't remember who actually has a big stake in it.
I feel like it's like Bevmo or something. I don't know. Something.
Yeah. InBev.
Like InBev.
Yeah.
I don't know how I just pulled that randomly. I mean, I didn't know the right name, but it was close.
Nice factoid.
Out of my ass. Yeah. I'm actually drinking on right now some Jameson. So Jameson's my thing, but Jameson cask mates.
Straight up?
Straight up.
Like
So
a boss.
they actually Jameson had these barrels that they finished their regular Jameson in, and then they let some brewery, doesn't actually say on here, but brewery that brews stout beers, used the barrels, and then after they used the barrels, they took the barrels back and brewed Jameson and stored Jameson in that. So
Interesting.
yeah, so it's pretty good. Drinking it straight up there. Normally I like my Jamie and ginger, but
Yeah.
this cask makes pretty good. Pretty damn
So,
good.
I mean, so how is it? Is there like a smoother mouthfeel? Like, is there a taste difference?
Well, I can't taste shit when it comes to like, hey, this wine has fruity, wood barrel or anything like that. But I'll just tell you by saying that the bottle on it says stout seasoned oak barrels with a chocolate hint.
Okay.
So, and a rich coffee smooth something. So,
Gotcha.
I don't know.
I mean, those are like pretty typical characteristics of stouts. That makes sense.
It's good. I mean, we got to have our drinks with the way crypto's been moving lately.
No, dull the pain.
No, but all jokes aside, I mean, you actually did a little bit of research on it.
Yeah. It's funny. It seems like so long ago that we had our last extended bear market. I remember buying in like 2014 on $900, hit $1,200. Within a couple of weeks, crashed to like 100. And I thought the world had ended. Like, man, like totally missed the boat on that shit. And so here we are. So, in retrospect, it's going to be okay. It's just the way it goes. I mean, it's just part of the cycle. But because of that, because of all the suicide hotlines and people just selling their shit and leaving, I was like, let me just see like what's actually going on. Like, what's like the average return? I mean, how bad is this? So since inception, the average return from Bitcoin is about 2,000% per year. Now, of course, that's a lot because the first couple of years we had like 7,000 and 8,000% returns. So even though we're down like 75%, 80%, in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't really matter. This thing's moving 1,000% in a year. So I think patience, hashtag balls of steel. Don't watch the charts too much.
It's kind of like what I was telling you. I watched that CNBC Fast Money interview yesterday, and I forgot what the girl's name was, but she was on there, and big into crypto. She's like a CEO of one of these companies, and she said, if you look at it, she said Ethereum, as an example, is down 78% from its all-time high. But as of yesterday, when this interview happened, she's like, if you bought Ethereum the same day last year, comparative to yesterday, you would be 100% break even. So, I mean, that shows right there that, like all this freak out. I mean, we see it all the time. Whenever Bitcoin drops 10%, you see articles from everybody popping up. Oh, the bubble was burst. This has happened. But if it goes up, freaking 50%, those same people, you don't hear a peep out of them. So
Yeah, and it's always, these traditional news outlets and traditional uh, financial, figureheads. Uh, Actually, on that same note, speaking of Ethereum, Joseph Lubin, who is one of the co-founders, I actually watched a video with him today, and so he was saying, talking about bubbles, um, he was like, it's just what happens, and it's actually really good for us. We actually have so much more, uh, like the talent pool grows with every bubble. He's like, so don't look at the price too much. Like that's always going to be dipping and changing and growing, but he's like, these bubbles are actually really good for business
mhm.
because the community is growing with every single one. It's more awareness. So it's all perspective.
Well, I mean, we can speak from personal experience on that. Like, we both got into cryptocurrency for the trading aspect, and I did a little bit of
Hmm.
mining in the beginning as well. But, you know, although we do trade, both you and I are learning, Solidity right now
Exactly.
to possibly, program smart contracts. So that's one thing that like, I did a vlog for us yesterday for CryptoFizz yesterday about this, a few resources that I came across learning Solidity.
Hmm.
I mean, this may sound stupid, but there's so many different ways that you can make money in this space. It's not just
Hmm.
trading. Like I said in that video, I read a stat where there's for every one blockchain engineer right now, there's 12 open positions. And you can look
Yeah.
through the list of some of these pages where it's like starting salary for Solidity developers, 100,000, 150,000, 200,000. Like you can make as much money as the goddamn president freaking
Exactly.
freaking programming Solidity. Like I mean, so there's there's so many different ways to make money in this. If you're really interested in this space, I'm in it for the long haul. Whether the price drops off the map or whatever, I know that this is world-changing technology, and I want to be a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because like the moment that I read about Bitcoin, I couldn't tell you how I even came across it, but the moment I came across it, I like immediately knew that this was my chance to like be part of that new thing. Like I was very like I was like mad that I kind of missed out on the dot-com bubble. Like I wanted to be part of that movement so bad. And so as soon as I saw Bitcoin, I was like, oh shit. If you think about like the gold rush, the actual gold rush, I mean, some were actually mining, some were providing the picks and the shovels, some were selling fucking Levi's, some were selling boots, some were speculating. Like it's the same thing, right? Like there's always going to be traders, there's always going to be people actually doing the work. Um, there's going to be people telling you how to create the mine. Like um,
Many
yeah,
ways to skin a cat.
exactly. Yeah, and I mean we actually started off like you said at the from like a trading perspective, and we kind of came from that traditional marketplace where we were trading, what seemed like a super volatile environment, pharmas and biotech. And little do we know that that 20% is cute compared to the 300% run-ups in crypto. So,
Well, it
um,
looks like over the past couple of days, I mean, Bitcoin dropped down in the 50, in the fives, and then I mean, it got right back up to where it was sitting for like the last week or two.
yeah,
So I think people are just, it's here, here.
it's tough. It's tough not to see the day-to-day movement.
Yeah.
Like it's just the scale out, and you'll be much better. And I want to link up some of these resources that I mentioned earlier, just about like the price theory and the S curve and stuff like that, because I think it's really informative and it'll help, calm some nerves.
So are you going to touch on those now, or are you going to actually write like an article about that type of thing?
I think I might actually write something about it just to combine them. Um, but basically the premise is like most people think of the Bitcoin price chart in the way that it's normally shown on the news when it should be looked at from the log scale. So basically the log scale shows it in a much more wide framed way, and it frames the growth in percentages. So basically what you normally see is a chart where the time frames are equal, they're spaced out equally. On a log scale, you see the percent change on the y-axis change. So it's a different way of looking at it, and it's more appropriate when you have things that are growing as rapidly as Bitcoin has. And so what you'll see basically, to make this pretty straightforward, is instead of this huge spike and then crash that you see normally on the news, if you look at the log scale, you'll see essentially a diagonal line from bottom left to top right. So it's much more of a comprehensive look at the overall movement instead of this, gloom and doom snapshot that we're used to seeing.
I think I saw this today, something similar today. I don't know if it was exactly, what you're referencing right here, but in the grand scheme of things, when you're in it, bigger than what it actually looks.
Right.
So I don't know.
Perspective. That's one thing I can't say enough, is just patience and perspective. Scale out. Drink a beer. Don't watch the charts.
Have a devil's backbone or some Jameson.
Exactly. Well, I think, really at the end of the day, I think it all comes down to where do you stand in the ecosystem. If you're a day trader, yeah, I'd be kind of shitting bricks.
Yeah, my only rebuttal to that is day traders, they're usually in and out daily. So, they're probably still making money even during this downturn like this.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But, if you're, I don't know. It's really hard for me to pinpoint exactly who should bail right now, if anybody should. If this is your life savings in this right now, and you've got, this is the only money you have, I don't know. But I'm confident in the picks that we've made, the picks that we've talked about, and I'm holding. I'm holding through this right now. You've said this to me numerous times. You've only lost it. If you're down, you've only lost it when you only realize that when you actually sell. So,
Well, and it's really binary too. I think it all starts with a good investment. So either when it comes to Bitcoin, do you believe in the future of Bitcoin? If the answer is yes, then don't worry about it. Just hold it. If you don't, then you're probably a day trader or, swing trading, which in those scenarios, then it becomes a little more stressful. But that's what you're getting into no matter what the thing is, whether it's Bitcoin or...
If you had to pick one token right now that you think shows the most promise of anything, what would yours be? And mine's gonna be totally a obvious choice, but...
Well, just to understand the question, when you say promise, do you mean what's going to grow the most in a year, or what's going to be like?
I'm not talking about necessarily the dollar value. I'm talking about what's going to change up the landscape. What is going to, have the most promise when it whether it be like a platform or a token that revamps an entire industry or what. So I'll help you out here. Mine would obviously be, and you may piggyback on this one, I don't know, but mine would definitely be Ethereum. I am learning Solidity like I am right now, and all the things that Ethereum is capable of, and building on top of it. I think Vitalik just hit a grand slam with what he was looking at, with what he initially put out, and I'm sure I know he had some support and stuff, but they developed. He saw that the decentralized system like this, there were so many more other use cases for it besides just a transfer of wealth, a transfer of funds. And just being able to build on top of its blockchain and utilize it, it's just, I don't know. I don't even think that, the majority of people that are even in it have fully wrapped their minds around the possibilities with it yet.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I was actually going to say the same one. just because it's like when I think of, a really futuristic future, um, where everything's kind of run by computers and everything's programmed to do this and that, run by itself. I think Ethereum is going to be that backbone because of things like smart contracts. Um, so I hate to, jump on your bandwagon there, but that's actually first thing that came to mind.
What about Neo? You were a big Neo guy last year.
Yeah, and to be honest, I haven't looked at it in a while. Like I jumped in early when it was rebranding and going to be like the quote unquote Ethereum of China, which is, who knows how true that actually is, but
it was ant shares before.
Yeah, ant shares.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I haven't looked at it in a while, so I can't really say too much about it at this point, but I do know I saw something really funny. I think it was on Instagram when I was scrolling through our account. It was a meme, and they were like, at this point, Neo's about to rebrand back to ant shares. Well, yeah,
it is down to $16 a coin. I just checked.
Man. Yeah, 'cause I know, like when I bought it, it was like $8.
Yeah, and then it hit
like 60 in like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I think there's still so much more room. I mean, we're still like in the first inning of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're still seeing just like the ideas of what can happen. There's very few actual use cases that are in the real world yet. So we barely scratched the surface.
So let's jump and let's talk about a few of the articles. So you actually wrote an article this week, and I actually started following him on Twitter. But you wrote an article if you're just jumping into crypto, maybe you don't know about this, but if you've been in crypto for a while, you wrote an article about Ross Ulbricht. I hope I'm saying his name right. From he was the founder and creator of Silk Road, who's now serving like life in prison. So
it's like 2 life sentences plus 40 years. Like they threw the book at him.
And he's like now tweeting. He's got a Twitter account where he actually writes like handwritten notes, gets them out to someone, and then they post them as like tweets or tweet what he says. So he's communicating with the world. It's almost like Julian Assange in a way, even though Julian Assange, you could basically consider him in prison right now. But was there anything you learned from the article that you wrote about him? You want to touch on some of the key points there of kind of what you detailed in that article?
Yeah, this kind of piggybacks on what we were just talking about as far as use cases. So Silk Road was essentially like the first legit platform use case really that used Bitcoin, beyond just like one person sending it to somebody else just for the fun of it. So Silk Road, for anybody that's not really familiar, it was essentially a marketplace where you can buy a lot of illegal shit. So you can go in there and buy weed, ecstasy, heroin. You could hire a hitman. Like it was the Wild West, man. And you use Bitcoin.
And isn't that part of the reason that he got in trouble? Like he tried to hire like a hitman or something like that. So he went by
Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yeah, Dread Pirate Roberts. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's still kind of speculation whether or not he wasn't actually charged with that, but that's part of the speculation. But he was charged with basically everything. Like billions of dollars went through this platform to buy illegal things. But it was just one of those things like we're basically going to hit you with every charge possible outside of the death penalty. And I think just because they made an example out of him. Bitcoin was a threat, and it's always going to be a threat to the old establishments. And they're like, here's a dude that's doing some things that we don't like, kind of bending the rules and finding loopholes. And nah, son.
Isn't it the reason why the guy from the movie, the documentary on Netflix, Banking on Bitcoin, one of the guys that allowed people to buy and sell Bitcoin with each other, it was like peer-to-peer, and he went to jail for people being able to purchase Bitcoin and then use it through his site and then use it on Silk Road, right?
Right, Charlie Shrem.
Yeah, which is complete and utter bullshit.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can go to an ATM and pull money out of any large bank and buy drugs with it, and you don't see any of those bankers being, arrested and going to jail.
Exactly. It's just a scenario where they saw this chance to make an example out of somebody because this new scary technology came about, and unfortunately, those are the guys that got hit.
Yeah.
So Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI in 2013. He got charged and convicted of drug trafficking, computer hacking, and money laundering back in 2014. So it's kind of old news at this point, but still very much part of the Bitcoin history.
But was he actually, like in your findings when you wrote this, was he actually selling any drugs? Or was people were just using his platform for it?
Right. So I didn't see anything that said that he was actually selling anything. It was just that he was basically creating a marketplace that allowed you to do so. So he was, I guess in the government's eyes, he was just as at fault as the people actually selling the illegal items.
So there's no way in my mind that eBay has never processed a drug transaction. There's no way that Craigslist has never processed some type of drug interaction or drug transaction. Like,
how many pounds of everything do you think has gone through the U.S. Postal Service?
oh yeah,
Like, it's insane.
yeah.
Like, I know for a fact people do it because I've sat on a plane with them and they've told me. Like guys that live like they live like in LA and like tried to basically like recruit me to like be a customer. It was showing me all the things that they do and how they do it. And I was like, Jesus, dude, like, how do you know I'm not a Fed? So,
That's hilarious.
yeah.
Well, make sure, guys, you check out that article on Silk Road, on Ross Ulbricht. It's called "Who is Ross Ulbricht? A Journey into the Dark Net and Cryptocurrency." That'll be linked below our podcast, so be sure to check that out. What do you want to touch on next, Billy? So there are a couple other articles that we got posted up. One was about Luxcoin, who John McAfee just became the CEO of, and then we'll touch on Warfield next.
Yeah, man. So I gotta tell you, I didn't know anything about Luxcoin prior to like that news headline. So basically, John McAfee was a advisor for them, I think since April, and then as of like 2 days ago, he became CEO.
And the price shot up 20% right after.
Yeah, which which is a fair amount, but not in the crypto world. Like that should have been 100%. But we're in a bear market, so that's kind of the name of the game. But just like so, basically, Luxcoin is kind of like, for one thing, most blockchains are either like fully decentralized. We don't want anything to do with the establishment. It's either us or it's them. Luxcore, which is like the actual ecosystem itself, has kind of taken a split path, so to speak. They're essentially offering tools that either the private person can use or a bigger institution can use. And they're kind of giving you some flexibility as far as what solutions you want to use within that ecosystem. So something that struck out.
Okay.
There's a couple like features that struck out. One was a PHI 1612 hashing algorithm, which is like a freaking mouthful. But essentially, it's kind of like Verge, where they use a combination of different hashing algorithms, just to make it a lot more difficult to do any harm to the blockchain. So it's kind of a unique situation where they're using a hybrid of proof of work, but also a proof of stake.
They have masternodes as well, right?
Yes, they have masternodes, but it's a parallel masternode system, which I had never heard of before. So just to kind of quote the white paper, because some of the stuff goes over my head. Like I don't even know what you're saying right now. So as the white paper states, any function, wallet, or transaction on the parallel masternode will be encrypted with the IP addresses auto-changed. These wallets and transactions are invisible to prying eyes to meet institutional security prerequisites. Charlie Brown, wampa 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 wampa. Like, what the fuck? But the one thing that is straightforward is, so for these parallel masternodes, they're going to be available only to verified and vetted business and government institutions. So that's pretty cool.
Good on one hand, it's good on the other end, bad on the other end, where us, being strong supporters of masternodes, if we're not institutional investors, can't really get into it per se. But
Right.
So before we keep continuing on Lux there, last year was the year of the ICO.
Mm-hmm.
Is 2018 the year of the masternode? Because it seems
I
like
think it
masternodes
is.
are just popping up everywhere now.
Yeah, I think it is, and I don't know. Maybe it's for a good cause because the cost to actually run a mining rig is so outrageous. I'm not sure what the actual reason behind it is. Maybe it's just the flavor of the year. Um, but I think the masternode segment in the broader blockchain ecosystem is going to grow much more. And we've definitely seen that with like the one-click masternode setups. There's a ton of those now. Just in the past couple of months, we've gone from 1 to I think 6 off the top of my head, which I'm actually going to write a piece on that as well, probably maybe Monday or Tuesday. Just doing like kind of like this versus that. What's going on in this particular segment? Why is it blowing up? Just to get a deeper dive to understand what's really going on. So I don't know. I'm also curious what's next.
Yeah, yeah.
Masternodes this year. What's next year?
Masternodes 2.0.
Yeah, like that's. I mean, that's really what got me is. That's what I really love about this space is you have no idea what's coming. Like it's so new. I mean, there's going to be a new development every day, every week, every year. It just
Well,
that stuff excites me.
That's similar to the way that I would phrase it. My thing is that it's so new that you can be the one that creates something that nobody has seen before. That's so exciting to me. That's why, I want to go and learn Solidity myself, for smart contracts. Like, who knows? I mean, you got smart ass people out there like Vitalik and just everybody. I mean, I say Vitalik because he's like boy genius, but that just know things that are way over my head. But sometimes those people overlook the simplest things, and you can be the one that develops that simple piece,
Exactly.
That's kind of what's exciting to me. It's literally like, the moving out to the frontier,
right?
Back in the day. You're creating these states, these counties, these land masses, these things for the first time. It's a blank slate. I don't know. That's super exciting to me. The other thing that's really exciting to me as a PC gamer is we have an article up about Warfield. And actually, it's a new game where it's a first-person shooter that you can actually jump in. They're currently in their alpha phase, but you can actually jump in and you can wager their cryptocurrency, which is Golder, and you can wager that based on, I don't know all the fine minute details, whether it's based on number of kills or whether your team, wins the match. I don't know, maybe you do, but I jumped into that today and it's like kind of Counter-Strike-ish, is the way it's kind of built out. That's super exciting to me, man. If you can jump in and play a first-person shooter, have fun, and also make some money or lose some money while you're at it, that added bonus right there, it's cool as shit.
Well, it's funny. So, from what I've gathered, it looks like you can gain the other person's tokens from kills or injuries. I'm not sure like what the percentage of the coin is and how that works out, but basically, if you win, you get paid out on that person's stake, which is really cool because it kind of fits into this broader gamer trend, like outside of crypto. So you can be a professional gamer on this game if you're good enough
Hmm.
and make a living, which is crazy to me. Like it's so badass.
Yeah, so a little backstory on I used to play FPS not, all the time. I used to play first person shooters. I was actually part of like I'm a baseball player, football player, like I'm
Hmm.
a big sports guy, so I'm not like this, crazy nerd or anything like that. But I mean, times are changing.
Right.
Jocks play games too. But
Exactly.
I used to be part of this clan in this one game. We played for years, and those guys were like my family, man. Like we played with them
Hmm.
every single day. And actually, we hadn't talked in a while, and somebody posted in our little group for the first time in years the other day, just like saying, "Hey, miss you guys, whatever." And one of them brought up, "Hey, there's a new cryptocurrency game that you can play. It's a first-person shooter and make money from it." And I posted our article in there, and they're like, "Yeah, that's exactly the one." So
Nice.
it super excites me. And also the cool part about it is like before a new game would come out, I used to, if I didn't have the top of the line computer at the time, I used to rebuild, build a brand new computer specifically for that game, and
Hmm.
spend, good money on it. I jumped into Warfield today on my Mac, which is nothing. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
souped up for gaming or anything, and I was able to run around just fine and play. Now, granted, I will say that I was like the only person on the, in the server at the time, so I don't know
Hmm.
how it would act if other people were in there and playing. But if you can incorporate cryptocurrency into a first-person shooter, which are probably the most popular games out there,
Hmm.
make it so that pretty much anybody with a computer that has a decent, computer doesn't need to have a specialized gaming computer can play. Like I can't imagine that not taking off. Hell, the next Olympics are going to have professional gaming at them. Like
Yeah, I mean, the tide is turning. Like it's
we,
gonna be crazy. Like this is I'm just gonna segue a little bit, like non-crypto, but same topic. So I went to a Nationals game a little while ago, and so we were waiting for the rain to stop. It was some bad weather when we first got there, so we sat down because it had stopped raining, but the field was still wet and it was a light drizzle. But so we're sitting there in our seats, and the stadium's filling up. But then we're actually watching another baseball game that's happening somewhere else in the country, and I was like, this is the future. We're packed like in this stadium watching a TV screen.
yeah. Did you watch any of so we live in the DC area and the Caps won the Stanley Cup Finals this year. Did you watch any of the finals at all by any chance?
I think I did. But I'm not sure if I saw a full game start to finish, but I know I saw bits and pieces, as I was out, as I
Well,
am.
well, the one thing I wanted to mention there is like they were playing Las Vegas Golden Knights in the
Oh yeah.
finals,
Hmm.
and even when they were in Las Vegas playing games, the Verizon Center, I think it actually recently changed its name. Maybe not. The Verizon Center here in DC
Yeah.
had the games up on the center big thing, and people packed the stadium and went up there, drove all the way to DC to go to the Verizon Center to sit there in a big crowd and watch the game on a TV screen.
Right.
So yeah, and that's part of the future. And then also when we talked to Jez Sand Fun Fair a couple weeks ago about the VR, virtual VR going to stadiums and games is going to be something that becomes big. You see some of the like NBC Sports and stuff starting to do some of that now. Like think about that.
Hmm.
You can go to the stadium in the game. You're in the comfort of your own home, sitting there on the couch, and yet you can still be part of the action.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I can't even imagine what it's gonna be like. It's gonna be going from like having a flip phone to a Bitcoin miner. I don't know. It's gonna
Have you seen the movie? We actually just watched this. This is on the gaming trend here, not necessarily crypto, but I mean it pretty much involves crypto in a way. Have you seen the movie Ready Player One? Yeah.
I haven't. I've seen it. Like I've seen the graphic. Is that still in theaters?
No, no, no. It's out for rent now. You should check it
Okay.
out. There's like a whole internal economy and everything in that. It's like people will spend hours upon hours in there, just in the game, just because their life basically sucks. But part of that game is you gain credits within the game to do certain things. If your character dies, you lose everything. You can restart your character, but you lose everything that you've done. And and one of the things in that was sometimes there's this big company that runs not a portion of the game, but runs certain aspects of it, and you can rent stuff from them. Well, if you get behind on money with them, they actually come and collect you and bring you to one of they call them loyalty centers, where you have to work in the game for them in their loyalty center until you can earn enough credits to pay them back. So that's like crypto right there.
Nice.
So,
Some Black Mirror shit.
Oh, totally, man, totally. So like, I guess we're excited about the future, but we don't know if it entails shit like that. You know?
Right. Like, where do I fit? Hopefully in a good place. Like,
yeah, but it's exciting, man. So, anything else that you wanted to cover on today's podcast? I know we covered some of our articles and what's currently going on.
yeah, I think that was quite a bit of material. Yeah, I'm going to put together a few articles moving forward about just perspective when it comes to Bitcoin, and don't jump off that cliff yet. It's going to be okay. Yeah, that's all I have, man.
Yeah. Well, check out CryptoFizz guys for any articles and stuff that we're posting. We post multiple articles weekly. Also check out our YouTube channel. So we're starting to build up the YouTube channel a little bit. We're starting to do some vlogs here and there. Billy might start doing ones here and there of some of his picks or what the current news cycle that's going on. I'm going to be building out some for my journey as becoming a Solidity developer, and then I'm also planning on writing kind of a article series on that. So check those out, and thank you guys for listening today. Later.
Later, guys.